on Regio Dolphins. This is our second installment of our read alouds for our kinder through third graders. I've decided to do an author study where we're going to follow a few more books from the same author. Right now, she's currently my favorite. So if you remember, our first read was Rosie Revere Engineer. Today's read is Ada Twist Scientist. And this is by the same author, Andrea Beatty, and it's by the same illustrator, David Roberts. If you haven't read this one, hopefully it inspires you to try new things, ask questions, experiment. And we're going to end our story time today with an experiment that you can hopefully do at home. All right, so let's read. Ada Marie, said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and made her big break, with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day, chasing each sound in sight, and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. You can see her room, making a mess of things, climbing into dangerous spots. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak, as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and she simply asked, "Why?" Why do you think her parents wanted her to stop? Does that look safe or dangerous? What could happen to her way up there? Yeah, she could fall down. She could get hurt. Why does it tick and why does it talk? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside of your nose? She started with why, and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it out." Look at all those questions she has. Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Can you see on these two pictures how she's bigger here? And look at all these questions she has. Can you see all the questions? Try to read some of those questions yourself. What do they say? Yeah, I see. What is it for? Will it be the same? When will it? Why does it? How does it? Even Miss Greer found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear with Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. Look at the teacher's expression. Does she look happy? Sad? Scared? Surprised? I'm thinking she looks surprised. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zowie!" said Ada, which got her to thinking, "What is the source of that terrible stinking?" How does a nose know there's something to smell, and how does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true, that terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis 2. Hypothesis, that's a big word. Does anybody know what that means? It's the scientific word for guess, to make an educated guess. Then zowie! The stink stuck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2, it's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop!" I wonder why her parents yelled stop. Is it okay to put your cat in the washing machine or the dishwasher or the dryer? No, not safe. Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now by the time we count 3. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her mother said no. What? Ada queried. Her father said, go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat. And she thought about science and Stu and the cat, and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked 2. And each of those led her to 3 questions more, and some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. Have you ever wondered how something worked? What questions have you asked? Let's see. Oh my goodness, look what happened to the wall. She drew all over it. What would your parents think if you were drawing on the walls at home? Would they be happy or mad? Probably pretty upset. Her parents calmed down and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the hall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was about? They smiled and whispered, we'll figure it out. And that's what they did, because that's what you do when your kid has a passion and heart that is true. They remade the world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asked lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. Look what they bought her. A roll of graph paper that she could write all of her questions and thinking on so she doesn't have to use up the wall. That was a good solution. And as for that smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question, and someday, who knows? See her class. Can you guys find Rosie Revere? She's in this class too. Point her out. There she is. And there's ate a twist. Okay, so here's the deal. I've had a lot of questions ever since you guys have been sent home because of coronavirus and the sickness that's kind of going around and making a lot of people have really bad coughs and not feeling well. The question that I have is, why do we wash our hands? Why is it so important to wash our hands? Do you guys know? Let me hear them. If you have an idea of why we wash our hands, I'd love you to write them in the comments. So here's what I decided to do. I saw this great experiment. I want to thank Mrs. McCormick because she's the one that gave me the idea of how to describe and explain why it's so important that we wash our hands every day, multiple times a day to keep the germs away. So if you don't know what germs are these little teeny tiny bugs that we really can't see. They're microscopic, they're itty bitty, but they live everywhere. And sometimes there's germs that are just fine and they don't do anything to us. And then there's some germs that can actually make us sick. So one way to make us better is to continue to wash our hands and to continue to be safe and kind of make good choices about if we're playing in dirt or if we're playing in with friends, or we're doing things that we know that our hands are dirty, that we wash them when we're done. So I'm going to show you a little experiment, and you can do this at home if your parent says yes. So it's very important that you have parent supervision for this and you have parent permission. It's very simple. So the first thing you need is a bowl of water. I'm going to move my camera down so you can see. Bowl of water. Okay. Then we're going to use pepper. So if you have pepper in the house, you're going to take the pepper and sprinkle in the water. Okay, kind of fill it up there. The pepper represents germs. These are the germs that are everywhere. Okay, and if we touch the germ, what do you think is going to happen? When I put my finger in, what do you think is going to happen? Make a prediction. Okay, let's find out. Put my hand in. What's all over my finger? The pepper, the germs. They attach to my finger. So now I'm going to show you. Gotta wipe the germs away. Okay, wipe all the germs away. Now what I'm going to do is take some soap. Now I'm using dish soap. It can be any kind of soap that you have at home. I'm going to pour a little bit onto my finger, kind of rub it around, make sure it's all over my finger. And now I'm going to show you what happens when we wash our hands. Look what happens to the germs. Did you see that? And none of them stuck to my finger. Pretty spectacular, isn't that? Neat. That is an experiment you can do at home. And what's great about it is it can show you why it's so important to wash your hands and to be mindful about what we're doing. So ask your parents, see if they have the supplies. Like I said, it just takes a bowl of water, some pepper, and some dish soap or some hand soap if you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope you enjoy being scientists. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.